All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. Folks, this team is back. They have won 3 straight football games. Joe Burrow is fully freaking healthy. We saw it last weekend against the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Burrow, in the last 3 weeks, has a passer rating of 118. They are well coached. They clearly have superstars in Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. They've got studs on both sides of the football. They've got the pass rush. They're starting to force a lot more turnovers. And, this is something Bengals fans are accustomed to. This is a team that starts slow, and right about now is when they really start to ramp things up. I know they have a difficult schedule. I know they're in a difficult division. They're in a difficult conference, but this is the Cincinnati Bengals. It's Joe Burrow. It's Jamar Chase. I mean, these guys are absolutely lethal. So in today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the Cincinnati Bengals. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Bengals fans, we could try and get this video to 250 likes. That would mean the absolute world to me. So one thing that, first off, Joe Burrow against the best defense in the National Football League. Well, now technically, statistically, they're ranked 5th. Against San Francisco, Joe Burrow was literally perfect. I mean, he was quite literally perfect. You're on the road, and he was perfect. 28-32, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And what's even crazier is with that injured calf, which is no longer, an issue, 6 rushes for 43 yards. So what did we see? Well, we saw a lot more of a balanced offense, especially with the run game. It's going to help out Joe Mixon exponentially having a healthy Joe Burrow. 16 carries, 87 yards, and a touchdown for Joe Mixon. Much more creative, much more versatile offense, just general game plan with a healthy Joe Burrow. 7 different receiving catches versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the trade deadline ended a day or 2 ago, depending on when you watch this video here. I was a little bit surprised that they did not go after a tight end, but hey man, at the end of the day, when you have Jamar Chase and you have T. Higgins, which by the way, the report just came out, they didn't even pick up any calls about T. Higgins, which I mean is exactly what I think every Bengals fan was expecting. I don't know why you would trade T. Higgins. T's the type of player where even if he, just were to walk in free agency, I definitely want him on this team for the duration of the season because he's vital. T. Higgins is a vital piece, and now he is healthy as well. He had 5 catches for 69 yards. They still got Tyler Boyd, the OG veteran, 3 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Irv Smith, it's just something, we haven't really seen anything. I mean, I hate to be blunt like that, but we just really haven't seen anything from Irv Smith as opposed to maybe Hayden Hurst like last season. I was a little surprised, especially, you've got Mike Gesicki over in New England. They've got 2 tight ends, and they're 2-6 now. A little bit surprised they didn't even make, I haven't seen any reports. I didn't see any rumblings that they even tried to acquire a tight end. But here's a perfect quote from Joe Mixon, and it's, I know this team per se has some weaknesses. They have some flaws like the tight end position, but Joe Mixon literally said it perfectly in anticipation for Sunday Night Football against the Buffalo Bills. And he said this: when the lights shine bright, we shine brightest. We have to keep playing with an edge that can't be matched. And I think that's just pretty much a perfect way to describe the Cincinnati Bengals, especially as, now we're in November. Happy November, everybody. This is a November-December team. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Sean Payton back in the New Orleans Saints days. They would always start slow, and once that month, November hits, they just start to get on fire. And, everybody knows Joe Burrow is a quality quarterback, made the Super Bowl a couple of seasons ago, even coming out of college, obviously with LSU, expectations were high. We know he has talent, but he's got the it factor. And it's not just him, man. The whole team in general has the it factor. And defensively, I know some people were concerned. We just mentioned they've got the pass rush. They're forcing turnovers. Some people were a little bit worried with the secondary losses heading into the season. We're looking at a guy like Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton is back to being Mike Hilton against the San Francisco 49ers. I know they were missing Deebo Samuel, whatever. 91.7 PFF defensive grade, 91.2 coverage grade, 79.3 tackling grade. He had 4 tackles, 3 run stops. Cam Taylor-Britt has taken a huge step. The dude is literally a freaking future star in this league. Dax Hill, for a second-year player, Dax Hill also looks very good. So I'm loving the Cincinnati Bengals defensively. I have zero concerns with them. I mean, they're just as good as they were last season, if not better. Statistics are, with Cincinnati, something you can't really look at because, I mean, they did start 1-3 offensively. They're only putting up 19 points per game. Very important to note all the injuries specifically to your starting quarterback in Joe Burrow. Defensively, they've still held up, even though they're not putting up too many points on the board. 20.6 points per game. That's good for 16th in the league. But when you start to look into the statistics, I mean, they're not pretty. One great statistic for the Cincinnati Bengals is they are #1 in penalties. That's penalties, momentum killers, just complete drive killers. As this team starts to regain that momentum, heading off of this 3-game winning streak, being first in penalties, having no penalties or a couple of penalties in a game, that goes a really long way. Rushing yards, they're only averaging 79 rushing yards per game. That's third to last in the league. Total rushing yards, they are second to dead last in the league. But as we alluded to earlier on in the video, having a healthy Joe Burrow, it just lets your offense, it's just, versatility, creativity. You can be more balanced. I think it's really going to help out Joe Mixon. We talked about this in our last Bengals video before the trade deadline. A veteran running back would be something I also would absolutely love on this team. Like Samaje Perine last season. I think those are the two big losses for Cincinnati, Samaje Perine and Hayden Hurst. But, if Joe Mixon can stay healthy, and if Joe Mixon can be what Joe Mixon was against the San Francisco 49ers, well, that's perfectly fine for me because at the end of the day, I've got a defense, I've got Joe Burrow, and Joe Mixon is still a very quality running back in this league. One last thing I want to point out with Cincinnati is just unfortunately going back to the whole tight end position. Irv Smith Jr., especially against San Francisco, I mean, we know he hasn't had a good season in general. Fumbles. Critical fumbles being lost is just personally not going to work for me. Now, the good news is Cincinnati is only 7 games into the season. They still have over half of the year to play. But that's something I would love against Buffalo to get going, just because they didn't make a move at tight end. So, whether you like it or not, Irv Smith Jr. is going to be the starting tight end for the rest of the season. I would love for a huge game from him, or at least just like critical catches, some third downs, maybe a touchdown in there would be awesome. Something to just get his confidence going. Irv on the season, not much there. I mean, he's only had 4 games where he's caught a ball. He had crazy because statistically, I know there were fumbles against San Francisco, but statistically that was the best game of his season. 4 catches for 25 yards, which is unideal. But hey, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, and that defense, that should be perfectly fine. I wouldn't be surprised if this team rattled off 4 or 5 straight victories, regardless of how that schedule is looking. This team's ready to play, and they're ready to go, all right? That's it for today, man. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. If you guys want more Bengals videos, let me know down below, but stay tuned late Sunday night over here in Eastern Standard Time for hopefully a Bengals win recap video. Peace.